Hello there, welcome. Thank you to all of those who are able to attend our very first and most recent webinar, What is a Garden Suite, an ARU, a tiny house, everything you need to know. We greatly appreciate your time and engagement during that session. Unfortunately, we had a technical issue and the live webinar recording was not saved, so we sincerely apologize for the inconvenience, but we've worked quickly to provide a solution. So you have just me on the recording, but I'm referencing the transcript that was captured for that session. And we'll also send the transcript of the Q&A for those great questions that we had from some of our participants on Wednesday, December 18th during the live session. So to ensure you don't miss any of that valuable information, you have the recording here from myself, Jessica Flynn, Director of Operations with ATTIMO Homes, and then we'll include some comments that Thomas Vincent made through this transcript, and we will include the Q&A document for you. So on tonight's agenda, for the agenda of this webinar, we want to thank you all for tuning in, those who joined us live on a dark December evening to engage in some learning together and to discuss how we can support those in need in our community of attainable housing. So ATTIMO stands for Attainable, Tiny, Modular. We'll dive into a bit more of a description about our company and the why behind this company. We go into definitions of additional residential unit, garden suite, and tiny home. We also talk to you about different types of garden suites and our approach of how they can be built and brought seamlessly into your backyard. Some reasons why and the benefits of these types of housing units, the process and how ATTIMO Homes can really take you from a top to bottom hand holding through what can be a very overwhelming process to get one of these units installed on your property. We will discuss the cost and some financing options, and you'll see we had a bit of a great chat on the topic of financing as well, which may inspire a whole new recorded webinar on the topic of how to finance a garden suite. We introduced our overall professional team, and then we went into the Q&A. So in the image here, you'll see the exterior of a unit that we have brought to the Collingwood Home Hardware parking lot. That's our CEO and President, Thomas Vincent, with our local MP, Terry Dowdall. And so this is the exterior of a 320 square foot unit. So this is one of the smallest units that we have to offer. This particular unit was made from 2 shipping containers by one of our modular manufacturers called Balance Containers. And we'll talk a little bit about this type of construction as we continue through the presentation. So again, my name is Jessica Flynn, Director of Operations with ATTIMO Homes, and I have a diverse professional portfolio, but a love of all things construction and housing. And it was actually back in 2017 when I founded my first company called Funky Bunkies that Thomas and I met. We're beginning to have some of these conversations. And Tom has a long history in housing, from tourism and corporate housing to an age-in-place community that many of us are aware of called Balmoral Village in Collingwood. And it was actually around the time that Tom and I met, and he shared this story about 5 years ago, that he was asked to attend a conference on housing, and the housing crisis that we have here in Collingwood and South Georgian Bay was really put into his awareness. So he used the term Godsmacked, that he couldn't believe the types of challenges we were facing in the housing field. He had developed properties in Toronto, all around the world. He developed the first high-rise in Yorkville, properties in Forest Hill, a couple other areas in Toronto and Ottawa, mostly in corporate housing and business needs. Coming to Collingwood to start and build Balmoral Village, which is an adult village, a community, an age-in-place community that's been tremendously accepted, and very many happy residents as it finishes its final phase. And so at this conference that he attended, he really couldn't understand why we had so many challenges with housing for young people, as well as workforce and seniors. So at the time, they were talking about how we had about 2,500 people looking for jobs in our area, in the South Georgian Bay area, but that couldn't stay here because there wasn't the type of accommodation that was needed. And the price of accommodation and availability of rental land or ownership just wasn't there. And so we have reached this crisis level where now Tom is thinking it's closer to 5,000 positions short, because we haven't done enough to address this housing crisis. And so another important thing that we wanted people to understand in this presentation, and really the intention of this presentation, is just an introduction to garden suites, additional residential units that are detached, because there's so much need out there. This is one solution to a very layered approach to work on solving this crisis. So Tom made the point that this type of housing is not necessarily for our homeless or our unhoused populations. Only about 10 to 15% of the housing we need is for populations experiencing homelessness. But there's all sorts of need at market and attainable rental stock for young professionals, for our workforce housing, for seniors who want to age in place and stay close to home, for young children. So there's lots of opportunity in these garden suites. And again, this presentation is just to address some of the education gaps that we've found since bringing this model unit to the Collingwood Home Hardware parking lot. And we're so grateful for the Home Hardware in Collingwood for their championing of this project and being a partner and having us there. But so really this presentation is answering a lot of the questions that we get when we've had just over 200 people through the unit in the last couple of months. And so it's a very introductory discussion on what are these things, who are they for, how much do they cost, and how can we make it a little bit easier for interested potential customers and neighbors and community partners to go ahead and explore, go down this road. So first, with the definitions. So an accessory residential unit, ARU is the acronym. The term by the province used to be additional dwelling unit, or ADU. So there's been a lot of changes coming down from the province that municipalities like the town of Collingwood, and we have representation on that call from the town of Collingwood. Municipalities are just doing so much work to keep up with all the changes, but it's great to see a lot of this progress being made. So an accessory residential unit is a fully self-contained housing unit located on or within a primary residence. So it's on the same lot or within the house. So these would be an apartment inside a house, or detached in your backyard, which we refer to as a garden suite. So an additional residential unit is anything in addition to the primary dwelling, the primary residence. So key features are they must have their own private entrance. They must have a bathroom as well as a kitchen and parking. Depending on which municipality you're working with, there are specific rules around parking, but they have to be completely independent living spaces. ARUs, additional residential units, are fantastic for maximizing existing land use while providing much needed housing solutions for communities. Yes, you can rent these out to the general public. They're also great, as Tom mentioned in his comments on the live call, that we're seeing a lot of people come through our demo unit looking for family, either their young children who are in their early income earning years, or for their aging parents, a family friend, or for themselves, where they don't necessarily want to leave their property, but downsize and then offer the main residence to family or friends, or rent that out for a higher rental rate, and then live in something a little bit smaller. So right now, you're actually allowed to build up to 3 additional dwelling units per additional residential units per residential or rural property. So this is huge and new. We keep increasing the number of units on a property. There's still zoning and setbacks and lot coverage to consider, but you could potentially have up to 4 residents on one property, which is the type of density that we need to be looking at for the crisis level that we are in. Then we moved on to garden suites. So garden suites are a version of additional residential units, typically located in a backyard. And what makes them unique is that they are often modularly built. So modular does not mean on wheels. We're going to talk about tiny houses on wheels. Modular means built in modules, built off-site often, and then assembled on the site quite quickly. These units can range from 320 to over 850 square feet. They're designed to be adaptable, offering a lot of flexibility for homeowners in their use and how the use of these garden suites can evolve. They can also be single or double story units. Garden suites, as ATTIMO uses this term, we're referring to detached in your backyard, modularly built units that adhere to the Ontario Building Code, as well as the Canadian Standards Association standards. So factory built homes must be CSA approved, meaning that our local building authorities, typically when you build a stick frame structure, you have a series of inspections where our building officials from the municipality have to come and check the framing, the electrical, all of those layers, whereas your unit's going to arrive fully complete. So having that CSA approval means that our local building authorities know that these are built to Ontario Building Code and meet all Canadian standards. So they're a really well-built product. We work with 10 different modular manufacturers. They all are building to these standards. And it also means that, yes, they are 4 seasons. So we're getting some questions asking, can there be plumbing? Is there electrical? Are these 3 or 4 season units? So they are permanent. They're homes. They are built like homes to the standard of any house that we would build in Ontario, and often higher. So we've got high energy efficiency with R31 spray foam insulation in the case of the unit that we have at Collingwood Home Hardware, double or triple pane windows, steel clad or wood clad. So they are built really robustly and really well. And because of the modular factory built, we're also able to cut back a lot on waste. So construction is one of the higher polluting industries when it comes to filling our landfills with waste. And when we're building to very specific specs of these very specific designs, and we'll talk about the Collingwood pre-approval program and some of the designs we have on there, we're able to cut back on a lot of waste. So they're a great product for that reason as well. And then quickly, because we were going to talk about these benefits in a little bit more detail, but just to differentiate, we have additional residential units, which is anything in addition to the main residence. It can be an apartment. It can also take the form of a detached structure in your backyard, which we refer to as a garden suite. A garden suite is a detached unit in your backyard, 320 to 850 plus square feet, built to Ontario Building Code. A tiny home on wheels is sometimes where we're finding a little bit of confusion among the general public. And so when we say garden suite, this is not what we mean. There is certainly a culture in Ontario tiny homes or tiny living, but anything on wheels has to land in a very specifically zoned area, which is typically parkland or trailer park zoning. It's not considered a permanent structure, and so and not always built to Ontario Building Code because of the wheels and the air gap underneath. And a lot of times these tiny homes have a lofted bedroom as opposed to the main floor bedrooms that a garden suite may be able to offer. And so, yes, the garden suite we have in the Home Hardware parking lot in Collingwood is 320 square feet. Some may call that a tiny home, and it's just important to understand that some of our interpretations of a tiny house may be this. And so when we have people saying things like "not in my backyard," that's what's going to happen to our neighborhood. It's important to understand, and ensuring and financing these types of builds, it's important that everyone involved in the conversation is singing from the same songbook, so to speak. Our approach. So we're looking at a few different designs from just a selection of some of the modular manufacturers that we work with at ATTIMO. Our approach is simple. We leverage our strong relationships with some of the top modular manufacturers in Ontario, along with regional governments, policymakers, engineers, architects, planners, and contractors. So our elite supply chain ensures that every ATTIMO garden suite, regardless of whether it's a shipping container construction, a stick frame construction, meaning wood framed but still built off-site, or steel framed, it's not only designed and manufactured by the best in the province, but also installed locally on your lot seamlessly. We're also able to collapse timelines. So a typical build for something like this, if you were to do it in your backyard without a pre-approved design, could take upwards of 12 plus months, where we're able to collapse that down typically to a 4 to 6 month process, where your modular unit is being built in a factory anywhere between 8 and 12 weeks long. And then we have about 2 weeks for site servicing. So this is where we tap into some of our contractors with the relationships that we've built locally to put in your foundation or piers or piles, helical piles, whatever your unit's going to sit on permanently. Again, it's not a tiny house on wheels. You have an engineered foundation of some sort. So that's part of site servicing. Then hooking you up to water, sewer, septic, hydro. There are a couple of ways this can be done. What Tom likes to refer to as the umbilical cord, which is connecting it to your house, or we can go straight to town water and sewer, or if you're a rural property, potentially to your septic. And at the moment, we have 3 units that are actually ready to go right now. So the unit that is available for touring on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. with our lovely team, that particular unit is for sale, 320 square foot unit. And we have 2 others, a 1-bedroom, 576 square foot unit and a 2-bedroom, 480 square foot unit. So we have some ready to go right now. One of the other benefits of working with many different modular manufacturers is that timing wise, if we've got one factory full of ATTIMO clients, and isn't that the dream, meaning we're getting lots of attainable housing coming to the area, that we've got other fantastic modular manufacturers to work with as well. And as you can see, the designs vary. So we have anything from shipping containers here, stacked shipping containers, to a very avant-garde, this is a steel fiberglass, to a metal frame, to a combination of a little bit of everything. So the sky's the limit with design, the sky's the limit with layout. But we'll talk a little bit more about some of those detailed benefits. So, the benefits are going to be scattered throughout this presentation. But essentially for your family, this garden suite, an additional residential unit in the form of a garden suite, can offer rental income to offset mortgage costs, to offset your living costs, provide housing for aging parents or young adults launching. They can also serve as what we spoke about at the beginning, that future of downsizing as an option for homeowners. Downsizing and maintaining some of that asset from the sale is getting harder to do in this market. So this is a great option for folks to downsize and then rent out their full residence at a market rate to those who are looking for market rate rental housing. And we can achieve all of that in this tight timeline. And our project and construction management services here at ATTIMO really help contribute to the ease of which all of this can be achieved for families. For the community, modular construction reduces waste, like we spoke about, as well as timelines. It's more environmentally friendly, and we have our partners at Greenland Engineering who can work with our clients one-on-one and take any of these designs that you've seen so far and look at greenifying them even more. So whether that's gray water or rainwater capture, whether it's adding solar panels, we have an incredible team of local professionals able to support the elevation of the level of sustainability and green construction that you would like to take this build. It, of course, for the community, having a diversified, attainable rental stock is going to help us build a thriving, long-term sustainable community. It's a need, as Tom cited. We're looking at 5,000 positions that we're down in our region because there aren't enough places for these people who want to come and have a life here and have a career here. There's nowhere for them to live. So it really is needed across the board for our community at large. Another great thing for the community with modular construction is that you don't have construction crews working on your site all spring, summer, fall long. It's about 2 weeks, like we said, for that site servicing. Your unit is being built off-site in this Ontario building code in a CSA approved facility. It's delivered on flatbed truck and then either dropped in or craned in, depending on your lot and the access points. And then our contractors take anywhere between 2 to 5 days to put all the finishing touches on, to seal everything up, to put it on its foundation. And so it's really comes with also minimal disruption to the community. This was one of the questions that inspired the entire webinar. It was because some were still being asked, are these legal? And this is why we showed that picture of the tiny house on wheels. So to differentiate a garden suite, a legal additional residential unit, from what may not be legal. So yes, in short, what we're talking about at ATTIMO, the designs that the town of Collingwood has on their pre-approved design list, those are legal units. Now, we still have to consider your unique lot, your unique property, to consider things like setbacks. So how far will this unit be from the main residence? How far will it be from your property lines, the road, etc., as well as your unique zoning for your lot. But the good news is ATTIMO holds your hand through the whole process, holds the hand of anyone who's interested in exploring this as an option for themselves, their families, and for our community. And so we offer that top to bottom service to help navigate this process. So what does that process look like? We start with our online forms. You go to attimohomes.com and click on our contact page, and this survey takes 5 minutes or less to fill out. It's really, really simple. Essentially, what would you use your unit for? What size are you thinking that you'd like to have? What's the function that you're looking for? Then you'd meet with myself, Jess, and we would book a call to discuss a little bit more detail. We would pull up your lot to see what kind of information we could find on things like zoning. And then the next step would be to engage in a letter of intent, an LOI. That comes with a $500 administration fee. That letter enables us to act on your behalf and call your local municipality to inquire about what's possible on your lot, on your land. So that administration fee also goes towards us starting to engage with our engineering partners to look at what's possible in terms of infrastructure. What kind of foundation is needed to support the design that you're thinking of? Is that possible on your lot? What kind of hookups are required in terms of water, sewer, septic, hydro, etc., and how would that all be accomplished? So at the end of that deep dive, we'd also look at your budget, and you would begin some financing discussions on your end, but we have a variety of contacts and opportunities for you to explore there. And then if we know that a green light was most likely possible, then we would put that $500 towards the purchase of your garden suite, and we would go ahead and file for building permits. If at the end of that process we find there may be some challenges ahead that they may take longer to figure out, you would then have a pretty comprehensive report of what's going on, why it's not a green light just now, and a list of what you could potentially explore. But also that $500 could potentially save you a lot of headache if the end answer was going to be no for your particular lot. So that is the LOI. But if we assume, yes, it's a green light, we're going, then it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. So we start with budget and design together. So we help you select a design based on your needs, of course, based on the amount of space we have to work with and the square footage, as well as your budget. And we would help match you to the right modular manufacturer to make sure that all of those boxes are being checked, as well as the availability and to meet your timelines. At that time, we're also applying for building permits so that when the unit arrives, everything's ready for it. Then we go into site servicing and choosing finishes. So while our contractors are doing a lot of digging, you'll be selecting finishes like countertops and floors and paint colors and cabinet colors. So those fun pieces. And that's when we start to work a little bit with the modular manufacturer design team as well. And then we go into delivery and install. So often our garden suites are delivered on a flatbed truck, and it takes just a matter of hours to drop the units onto your lot. And then within just a couple of days, everything is finished and polished, and then turnkey from there. So that is our process. Another common question that we get is, how much do these things cost? So typically these units cost anywhere between $350 to $400 a square foot. If you've done renovations in your home before, we're dealing with the same cost. It's labor. It's all built to Ontario Building Code. It's like you're building a small house. So your price per square foot is very much in line with today's construction costs. And then there's additional cost to consider, which ranges anywhere between $15,000 to $25,000 for that site servicing. So this is to apply for your permits and the fees involved there, and then preparing your site. So your footings or foundation, your site servicing, any desired upgrades would also be on top of that $350 to $400 a square foot. And a fun fact here is that the cost per square foot actually goes down the larger the unit is. So our unit at Home Hardware is 320 square feet. Now, if we were to add another set of containers to get a second bedroom and additional living space, the price per square foot is actually going to drop because we're not putting in a kitchen, we're not putting in a bathroom, all the HVAC and appliances are purchased. So adding just living space, bedrooms and living space is actually quite affordable and drops that price down. Now, ATTIMO. Tom has been in the business for a long time. He's seen housing in all sorts of different varieties. And so really providing comprehensive support from that initial inquiry and all those phone calls at the beginning of the process to how do you actually finance something like this. We've thought through, and we're still making some great connections to make financing as easy as possible. So of course, the first option is you could outright purchase your unit. Which is, out of pocket. You are just paying for the permitting fees. You're sending all the deposits to us right away. And so that may be available for some folks. There's also a CHIP reverse mortgage. So this would be provided through us by the home equity bank. This is when you repay the cost of your garden suite build when your home is sold. So there's no upfront cost, and that's something that carries with the property on the end game. There's the HELOC, the home equity line of credit, arranged through your local bank. We also had a couple of local mortgage brokers on the call, and you'll see in the chat transcript that they're no strangers to this concept and are actually doing a lot of great work in the community to try and make this easier for their clients and to get this funding secured. So we want to thank those brokers who are on the call and participating in the chat. And like we said, we might have a more financing specific webinar coming up. And then Tom took us through some of the financial assistance that the federal government is coming out with. So effective on January 15th, we think this is going to be a real game changer in the marketplace. But their individual suite, this has to be a self-contained unit, meeting all the zoning requirements, of course, but you can actually take a loan out. You will be able to up to 90% of the property value, so up to 2 million, and get a 30-year amortization. You have to own your own property. You have to be living in the main unit or have a relative living in the main unit. So there are a few rules around this, but it's then the loan rate is actually increasing to $80,000. So it was $40,000. So it'll be doubled, and it'll be a 2% interest over a 15-year period. So there are a few things at the federal and provincial level happening that make financing for these types of products that much more accessible to folks. And of course, if you ever have any financing questions or any questions at all that didn't get addressed in this presentation, you can always send them our way, info@attimohomes.com. But it really was, when we did this live, a great community conversation on where things are at, what people are seeing, what kinds of products are coming out, as well as what we're hearing coming down from the federal and provincial governments. Before we broke for the Q&A, these are some of the logos here on the right-hand side of the modular manufacturers we're working with. So Balance Containers, Habitat 28, Eden Dwellings, and Northern Shield all specialize in this garden suite construction. So these backyard units, whether it's shipping containers, steel construction, wood frame, all built in their factories. Again, Ontario Building Code, CSA approved. And then we also have, we said we've got 10 modular manufacturers. The other manufacturers we have specialize in multi-units, multi-residential. So whether it's duplex, fourplex, or stacked apartment or dormitory style housing, this presentation is very focused on garden suites. But ATTIMO Homes as an entity also has an arm that is ATTIMO Villages, where we're building higher density products that are either at market rental, workforce housing, or socially responsive villages, which is that 10 to 15% of the population where they're either unhoused or it's emergency shelter that's needed. ATTIMO has concepts for that type of work as well. So not shown here are all of the other modular manufacturers that we work with who work on more of the village concepts with us. And then Tom took us through these logos that represent our professional teams. So Greenland Engineering, Georgian Planning, our architects who have experience building housing villages in the Middle East, Popovich, and they actually have experience building small cities. And so they've seen things done like what we're trying to do here. This isn't really anything new in terms of technology or concept. It's new for Ontario. It's new for many areas of Canada. These are practices that have been going on in Europe and other parts of the world for many years. And so it really is time where we've reached this crisis level where we need to be looking at what's been successful in other places and bringing that here. We have our phenomenal web and marketing team. And then AG Secure Property Management, we're really excited about because one of the questions that came up in the Q&A was around that idea of, are people really ready to enter into this Landlord-Tenant Act? And that could be another source of overwhelm for people considering a garden suite as a rental income. And so AG Secure is offering ATTIMO clients a 20% discount in their services. And they offer a completely hands-off service if that's what the property owner is interested in, meaning they will interview your tenants, do your credit checks, do your reference checks, do all the tours. They also perform smoke detector tests every 6 months, going into the unit and arranging that with the tenants. And they are very, very well versed and experienced in that Landlord-Tenant Act. And so we're really excited and fortunate to have that partnership added to our team as well. Okay, so then we had our live Q&A, which was fantastic. We had about 15 minutes of questions and great questions. Not only were we able to answer these questions, but also just seeing how much passion and interest there is in the community. But when you're experiencing some of these roadblocks, how can we at ATTIMO Homes tag in alongside you and help move the needle? So whether it's on financing, we had questions around conservation authority, a simple question like, which is the best way to build a modular unit? Do you want a shipping container or a stick or steel frame? And, we talked about how that really depends on the style and function that you want, as well as, how can we access your yard? Do the pieces need to be smaller when we're putting the puzzle together, or can they be bigger building blocks? So really grateful for the questions. You'll have the transcript of the questions and answers along with this recording. So again, we apologize for that technical glitch. That red light was flashing the whole time. It appeared to be recording, but it was just recording the transcript, not the video. But our intention is to record more of these free educational resources, whether it's this introduction to garden suites, ARUs, tiny houses. What are they? What are the benefits? How can you participate in this? Or more focused on maybe financing or specific designs and style. So please let us know what we didn't cover in this webinar, how we can continue to be your community champion on all things attainable housing. And we just want to thank you so much for the time, for those who spent it with us live on Wednesday, December 18th. And for those who are catching the recording, thank you so much for tuning in. If we didn't answer any of or some of the questions that you still have, then feel free to email us info@attimohomes.com, and our phone number is below. This is the QR code that if you are interested in learning more or booking a call, that will take you to our website to fill out that form. But again, thank you so much for your time, for your energy, and we look forward to seeing you at our next event.